Hey, Harpslingers, welcome to the Harpslingerpodcast, where each and every week we hang out with the greatest harmonica players in the music business. You know the routine. If you're watching this on the Hohner Music Facebook page, you need to go down to the bottom of the chat, push share, send that over to your personal profile so you can spread the love to all your friends who may not know about the podcast or enough about Hohner harmonicas. We got to spread the word, and all these wonderful musicians and artists that we're having on the show. It's been a great treat, and we got a great back catalog and a lot more on the way. If you're watching this on the Harpslinger YouTube channel, subscribe, ding the bell. Help us out. Let us know where you're at, where you're coming from, so we can send you updates on all the new stuff that's coming out in the future. All right? Let's do this, everybody. My next guest won the Northwest Harmonica Championship in 2008 and CBA's Muddy Award for Best Harmonica in 2009 and 2013. He's performed at the Toronto Jazz Festival, the Cognac Blues Passions in France, and at Seattle's Bumper Shoot with Magic Dick and Lee Oskar. Jason Ricci put it this way: he is quite simply one of the best harmonica players I have ever heard. Here he is, Hank Shreve. How you feeling, Hank?
Hey, I'm feeling great, Jamie. I am so thrilled to be here. This is just great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, are you kidding me? The thrill is all mine, man. Absolutely. I've been, every week I get this opportunity to, I know a lot of names of harmonica players and I know a lot of their music, and, I'm always listening to different players. So I had heard you before, but I hadn't spent a lot of time, because I'm so busy, I don't get a chance to really jump in. But when I have a guest on the show, I spend the week, really sort of dedicating that week to checking out that artist's music. And I really am, I'm just elated to have you on the show. You're just fantastic, man. You're such a skilled harp player, but you have so much to offer, so much more to offer. Your vocals are incredible. You're a really great songwriter. I want to talk about that.
Thank
And
you.
you come from a really musical family. You're from the Northeast, right? Like what is it? Springfield, Oregon. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, Springfield, Oregon, right by Eugene.
Okay, all right. You're not too far away from Curtis Salgado, right?
No, just about 2 hours. He lives about 2 hours north of me. So,
He's a great artist as well. You guys are tearing it up out there in the Northwest. You must have a great scene happening out there.
yeah, man, it's a really cool area, for musical talent. Both Eugene and Portland, for some reason, there's a lot of talent in there and a lot of blues talent. There's a lot of great there's a pretty good jazz scene and other stuff as well, but yeah, it's really cool. And then of course we have the Waterfront Blues Festival also, which is just one of the best.
Cool.
And yeah, it's pretty funny. There's something in the water here, I would say. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Okay, I can sort of relate. Yeah. Well, everyone has a how I found the harmonica story, and I'd love to hear yours.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll try to make it the short one, but basically,
You
as
got
you
as long
said,
as you
my
want, man. You can take as long as you want. It's okay.
yeah. But yeah, yeah. So as you said, my parents are musical, and my mom and dad are high school sweethearts, and they're coming up on their 50th year anniversary. Actually, this I think this year, next year, something like that. Yeah. So they've been in bands forever, and anyway, so skip ahead to when I was about 8 years old. They used to rehearse, and they have jam sessions at the house and stuff. And I'd kind of like noodled with guitar, but I couldn't play it like this. I'd always play it on the lap incorrectly,
Wow.
and
Okay.
yeah, it was wrong. But then, a family friend, person that my parents grew up with, just they reconnected, and he came over to jam, and he had a set of harmonicas, and I probably heard harmonica in a movie or a TV show or a cartoon or something before then. But when he started playing that thing, his name was Dino Alba. He's still around, and we're still in contact. But yeah, he started playing, and I was just like, that sounds really cool. It's like I was just amazed at what a small instrument, how it could have such a big
Right.
sound.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. And then so through him, my parents, their drummer, his name was Willie Weber. And he he had played with the Coasters, and he'd played with Junior Walker, and he'd had quite a resume. And he was also blind, and so and he played drums just beautifully. But anyway, he would go to the library every week, and he would come down and he would bring me different CDs every week. So he was the guy that got me in touch with all my heroes and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I remember I have this mixtape actually back in the days of mixtapes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I still have it in my box actually, but it's Paul Butterfield first couple, and then it's William Clark, um, Norton Buffalo, and Roy Rogers, and Delbert McClinton.
All right.
And yeah, so then a couple years later, that's when I got into Paul DeLay and Curtis and a bunch of other folks. So
Right.
that's
Right.
it in a nutshell.
Okay. Right on. Right on. It's sort of like it sort of chooses you somehow. It feels like, I mean, maybe, I never felt, I play a little guitar as well. I started on saxophone, and I guess I enjoy both of those. Enjoyed the sax. I haven't played in years. I enjoy the guitar, but nothing ever quite grabbed me the way that the harmonica does. So I get that people say it sort of chooses them. Would you say that it sort of chose you, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, because the weirdest part about it, and I'm not saying this in a bragging way at all. I want everybody to know that. But when I picked up the harmonica, the very first thing I did was, I mean, like I instantly bent a note, and
Right.
it was like I just kind of like it was weird. It was like I already like kind of knew how to play it
Yeah.
before I even touched it before. It was like I just kind of like would watch how Dino would play, and I could just kind of hear like, okay, I can tell he's breathing in there, but it sounds like maybe he's doing this or that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, it definitely chose me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell by the way you play it. There's a lot of passion in the way you play. Just a big fan. So you play diatonic. You also play chromatic.
hmm
Did you start chromatic around the same time that you picked up
A couple
diatonic?
years. Yeah. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting. Sorry.
That's all right. It's tough with this Zoom thing, right? We're not in front of each other. There's a latency, I'm sure. So yeah. Don't even sweat.
Yeah, and I'm just so excited too. But
Oh, me too,
yeah,
brother.
no, that's cool. Right on. No, but so Chromatic came, I would say, about 3 or 4 years after, because I started when I was 8 years old on diatonic, and
Okay.
then I'd become aware of the chromatic like a couple years into my playing, because like I had Norton Buffalo on that cassette tape, and then I was listening to a lot of Paul DeLay
Right.
also, and I remember like whenever I'd hear the chromatic, I'd be like, okay, I know it's a harmonica. It sounds like a harmonica, but a different kind of harmonica. What is that? And so my dad and mom, my mom and dad being musicians, my dad would say, well, that's a chromatic harmonica. And he kind of explained it's a different kind of harmonica, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. He doesn't play harmonica, but he knows about it. So yeah, and then that's when I got one. I think my first chromatic was a 10 hole, one of the Hohner chromaticas, the 10 hole
Uh-huh.
ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was a lot of fun. And then I upgraded to a chrometa,
Okay. All right.
and I thought that was like the best at the
Right.
time. And
Right.
then eventually then I upgraded to the CX12, and that's been one of my favorites ever since. So
Right on. It's not as
yeah.
intuitive as the diatonic, right? I mean, you said yourself, you almost somehow knew how to play it. Though, I mean, going straight to a bend like you did is like, I mean, some guys go for a long time and they have a difficult time trying to grab in a bend. But you just went right to it. It's amazing. It is pretty intuitive, though. That's one thing I really like about the diatonic. The chromatic, on the other hand, kind of a different story, right? I mean, that's like, and you play it
Hmm.
upside. You play both of them upside down. So that's quite impressive. Yeah, and I know you play piano. Surely you don't play piano upside down as well, right?
No, that'd be pretty cool though. Yeah. No, and every other instrument I play correctly. I mean, I play guitar this way. I play
Uh-huh.
drums,
Right.
correctly also. So, yeah, I just, I was 8 years old, so I didn't know any better. And remember I was looking in the mirror one day and I noticed Honer was upside down, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, that
Too late
makes."
now. Right. Too late.
Yeah, and it's too late, and so it's one of those things that I don't think about. And if I do think about it, that's when trouble starts to happen.
Right.
So,
Sure. Sure.
but
I feel you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, playing. I interviewed Howard Levy not long ago, and he talked a great deal about his. He plays great piano as well, and when he's playing diatonic, he's he's picturing the the keyboard does I would imagine that would be incredibly helpful. Unfortunately, I don't play the keyboard, but I mean, for you, do you feel that's helped you out a great deal?
Absolutely, and playing a little guitar has absolutely helped too, and same with drums too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely as far as like when I'm trying to think of like half steps versus whole steps or
Mm.
what have you, definitely helps to kind of visualize,
Keyboard.
like the three hole draw, for
Mm.
example. It's like, it's good to visualize it as like, going down,
Mhm.
visualizing it like you're going down the piano keys. So yes, absolutely.
Right on, right on.
Hmm.
So you play a lot of instruments. You're playing. You mentioned the guitar. You play lap steel, which is one of my favorite instruments.
Cool. Yeah,
Such
me
a great
too.
instrument. And it's interesting. You said when you started playing guitar, you had it on your lap. It was like that was sort of like the precursor to maybe I should be playing lap steel. But I mean, so you
Yeah.
got that going. You got drums. You're a vocalist. You're playing keyboards. What other instruments do you play? Is there any room for anything else?
That's about it. Yeah, I mean, I dabble with a banjo every once in a
Okay.
while. Of
All
course,
right.
one of them's
Right.
one of
Okay.
them's broken, so and one of them's a four string, so it's like, it's not really a real banjo, I guess, but um but yeah, so I mess with those. I've tried horns, tried both saxophone and trumpet, and I couldn't get but one note out of those things.
Right.
So
Totally.
yeah, I know. And I've tried, I've also come to the conclusion that if I tried to do one of those instruments now, after being so invested in the harmonica, it might be a too much of an adjustment, embouchure wise, So
Right, I can dig that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
a lot different than when you have a sax in your mouth and a harp. It does, yeah, it's completely different. You're right. Although
Yeah.
there's like, I'm always surprised. I'll meet a sax player who's also a great harmonica player. Jelly Roll Johnson was a sax player too. There's a few others out there. It's kind of amazing, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of doesn't didn't happen for me. It didn't feel right. I just didn't feel right. Like I didn't like the reed in my mouth. I didn't like that whole jazz and something about the harmonica though. It seemed to work out. So
Yeah.
I'm curious about your are you a self-taught player?
Yeah, pretty much. On harmonica, definitely. I pretty much learned by listening, just listening to recordings over and
Yeah.
over again. And the on drums, though, drums, that's the one instrument that I've had, some formal training on, and
Okay.
I took lessons for, and that was the one instrument I didn't really figure out on my own at first.
Right. Right. Okay.
Everything else though, yeah, I kind of taught myself how to do,
Yeah.
I learned by watching and listening.
Right. Old school. The old school
Hmm.
way. So talk to me a little bit about your knowledge and use of music theory. Is that's sort of a big question among players, and especially coming from a guy who plays as many. You're very prolific. You play a lot of different instruments. Uh, how much? I guess I have a lazy bone, Hank. So how much theory do I need to know?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I have a few lazy bones also. So yeah, we're all good. Um, you know, it's funny. This is kind of a ripoff, but this quote this came from Victor Wooten actually, who's one of my favorite musicians of all time. And what an incredible teacher too. Like if you ever get anybody, the listeners out there, you ever get a chance to watch any of Victor Wooten's music lessons, do it. It's just very cool stuff. But he talks about music theory in this one video, and he said, music theory is a tool, and just like having tools to your car or whatever, it's like they're there in case you need something, or in case something breaks
Yeah.
and you need to use the tools. Music theory is kind of the same way. It's like it's good to know, it does help certain things and does answer some questions, but you know, uh, in the long run, though, it's like if you're playing on stage, it's like, are you really using theory that much? It's like, or just, it's like if you do use theory, it starts to sound like you're thinking while you're playing, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so I know this is not probably the answer that some folks want to hear, but it's good to know. I say if you're going to learn music theory, learn it in little bits at a time,
Hmm.
And yeah, find you got to find your own way,
Right.
because uh, I've taken music theory classes, and oh boy, um,
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. It was, yeah,
yeah,
I got to say, it was, I studied more for that in college. I wasn't even a music major. I was just like sort of auditing a music class, and they let me go to class and take the lesson, take the tests. Thank God that wasn't on my record because I studied more for that midterm than I did for any of my core exams. And, it was just pathetic, but it gave me a little bit of knowledge, right? To deal with, and I think that helps a lot. I mean, a guy like you playing harp in tons of different positions, uh, I would imagine that at the very least during the rehearsal process, that's when you're really applying some theory about, okay, what harp am I going to use here? What position am I going to be playing in? Those sorts of things. But on the fly, as Kim Wilson says, have fun and play what's in your heart, I guess, right? I'm
yeah,
paraphrasing Kim Wilson, by the way. Yeah, that's not an exact quote, but I've read, quotes like that from him.
yeah, and that's cool because I heard that quote originally from well, I heard a quote like it from Stevie Ray Vaughan, on one of the CDs. He says, I try not to play from my mind because I just always go with my heart. And I remember when he first said that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that is the best sounding stuff.
Yeah,
And but yeah, so going back to your question, that is my answer is like, and I say the same to everybody else. It's like you want to learn it little bits at a time, and go at your own pace. Don't feel like you have to learn everything. One other thing I like to stress too is a lot of people get um, music theory and being a good reader. They think they're together, which I guess they are. But I know enough about music. Well, I don't know everything, but I'm still learning. But I know a lot about music theory, but I'm a terrible music reader. Just I'm terrible at it. Yeah, I mean, I practice it and practice it. I'm getting better, getting
right.
better. But yeah, it's a tricky thing. That's another skill. So anyway, what I'm getting at is, don't feel like it's like, okay, I'm gonna work on my music theory. I have to work on reading music also. It's like they're two different kind of animals in a way,
Sure.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And you've
that's
developed an
something.
incredible ear. So I'm sure that your brain is just always like, let the ear, the ear's figuring it out, right? The heart and the ear, right? Those two parts of our anatomy. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on with that. Well, the question of practice sort of pops into my mind. You sort of alluded to that. Um, how how does a guy at your level practice?
I'm still like, it's funny because I'm not even really sure myself because I kind of like to just have fun, and I'll play like, I'll work on a couple of songs here, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'll go over to the drums and beat out a couple of songs, and stuff like that. So, I mean, short answer to your question is I practice anywhere between, you know, an hour to a couple hours to whatever, and it's not all in one sitting. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like spread out through the day.
Right.
I think practice should be kind of like a good workout schedule, or just like a routine, right? Do little bits at a time, reps,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you don't want to do too much, and I've done that before. Like when I'm trying to like learn a song for a gig, and I don't have much time to learn it, then that's when I'll like go hours and hours on end.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's like, yeah, just the same thing as the last question. It's like you want to kind of break things up a little bit, and you want to, like I say, you want to have fun. That's the thing where a lot of people go wrong. They're like, when they sit down to practice, it's like, I gotta work on these scales, or I gotta work on this
Right.
song, this damn song again. And then so it's just like, yeah.
It becomes
So
more of a job than it does a passion.
right, yes.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. Again, I have a tendency to I pick up the harp every day, but then I don't always have something in mind that I'm going to work on. So I might just play a little, and I find that it's not moving me down the line as a player so much. I need to narrow my focus. I need somebody to go, "No, that's, It's interesting when you step away. If I like, I teach vocal lessons and a couple of harmonica lessons, and when I'm talking with my students, my perspective is different. But for myself, it's hard to put the thumb or the hammer down on myself and make myself do those things. But it's like you said, it's got to be a regimen, something you do like you work out every day. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and something fun, something that you look forward to,
Hmm.
kind of like you actually. Like a lot of my practice is jamming.
Hmm.
It's like sometimes I'll throw on a backing track, or I actually just like to drum to. I mean, sorry, drum. I actually just like to jam to a drum track.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just like throw on a cool funky beat and just kind of grab like a low tuned harp, and just do a
Hmm.
little kind of harp drum duo kind of situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's where I
Get that
have
idea.
most of my fun, in practicing. But
Yeah.
so yeah,
Between what hours are you doing your playing? Because if you have anyone else in the house, are you married, Hank?
I am, yes,
Okay.
and my wife is the coolest thing ever, man.
Great. Cool.
But yeah, yeah, she actually works here at home at the moment too, and so she works across the house, and I got my little fort back here, so.
Right. Try to keep it quiet to some degree. Right.
Yeah, I always try, like, when I want to practice the drums, especially. I go walk in and I'm like, "Hey, is it okay if I, bang some drums for a little bit?" And she's always like, "Go ahead." So
Right
uh,
on.
yeah.
So what have you been doing during COVID? I mean, I can imagine you're doing a lot of practicing and maybe some songwriting and stuff. I mean, you had a pretty full schedule before COVID hit. I mean, speaking of practicing, that's where I played so much I didn't practice much because I was playing 5 nights a week.
Right.
So yeah, now it's been a rough year. I did a podcast instead. But that's cool. I'm enjoying the heck out of it for sure. I get to hang out with dudes like you, which has been killer. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
man.
so what have you been doing? You've been, I guess, sitting in that room and hitting the skins and yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and what's it's cool. It's like I don't want to be one of those guys that says like, "Oh, 2020 was a great year for me." I don't know what, no, because it wasn't. It wasn't a it was a weird year.
It was yeah.
Yeah, and but I will say though, a lot of cool things did happen, within that time, and I got, I got in contact with Tomlin Lecky, and
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, and I've always been a fan of his teaching style, and then he contacted me out of the blue, and so we've been working together off and on here and there, and then I got in contact with Ronnie Shellist as well, and I've same thing there. I've always been a fan of his playing and
Absolutely.
his teaching style, and just he's a cool guy, and so
Super cool.
um, yeah, so I got to do one of the global harmonica summits with him, and
Mhm.
that's been the focus really, is this kind of stuff, which
Sure.
is really great for me, and it's nice because I've been meaning to get more tech savvy, so this has been a nice thing for that.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, but no, I'm the same way. I've been practicing a bunch. It's funny because it's like I'm kind of going back to how I was in high school. It's like I didn't have any gigs and I wanted to play so bad. I wanted to play gigs, but it's like I couldn't play everywhere. And, so I would practice and I would play in my house, play in my room. And it's like I'm right back there. And it's kind of cool in a way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It has been nice
yeah.
to be home a little bit. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I've been still writing, working on some new songs here and there. And, I did get to play a few gigs here and there because we have casinos, quite a few casinos here in Oregon,
Okay.
and they have, they're run by the tribe, so there was like they were allowing duos and solo acts to play, so I got to do a couple of those gigs, which was cool. That helped.
Mhm.
But yeah, just a little bit here, a little bit there.
I hear you. Do you have any idea when you're going to get back to the road?
Not really as of yet. I don't have any plans. I'm planning on, getting vaccinated and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I still kind of want to wait things out a little bit just to see,
Yep.
just to be sure.
No shame in
Um,
that.
yeah, but I want to continue, doing online stuff, like this and,
Mhm.
but, so
Well,
yeah.
there's a lot to be done. I mean, you know, a guy that you're playing at an extremely high level, and every time I turn around, someone's saying your name, and that's really a great thing, man. So you're doing a lot
Awesome.
of
Cool.
things right, and yeah. So one thing you do extremely well is sing, and I'd love to talk a little bit about your vocals and when you started singing, and kind of give me a brief history of how you got into being a singer.
Sure. Well, thank you. First of all, I really appreciate that. That's really cool. Yeah, I started singing seriously, I guess, in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, cause I played drums like in the high school jazz band
Hmm.
as well as the jazz choir too, and I also played in the jazz ensemble in the community college playing drums also.
Oh.
But so when I was in jazz choir, I got interested in singing, and so I started kind of dabbling with it a little bit, and then I started listening to Curtis Salgado quite a bit,
What a singer.
and
That
oh
guy.
man, I know,
I
I
feel
mean,
like I
like
can hear some of Curtis in you actually when you sing. I hear a little bit of that, and it's like, boy, that's a great place to be.
well, thank you. Yeah, he's definitely inspired me a lot. Also as a harp player too, and
Yeah.
also as a front person, because that was something about singing I didn't really understand about, at first, and then I kind of, I watched people like Curtis and Paul DeLay and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of other folks too, and yeah, that kind of helped with that. But so skipping ahead a little bit, so getting into college and stuff, that's when I really like became serious about singing and really wanted to treat it like another instrument and just like, cuz people were telling me for a long time like you need to be singing, like you need to, you need to do it. And even though I wasn't very good back then, um they could still see that, there was a voice in there somewhere,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and like I was telling you right before we started, is like just now I'm finally starting to feel comfortable singing after all these years. I'm finally starting to kind of figure out, how it works.
Right.
So,
Okay. Yeah. I was going to
uh,
ask you, what is it about singing that you're feeling comfortable about now? Is it just being in front of people, or when you're singing, or is it the mechanics of singing, that you're feeling great about?
yeah, more the mechanics. Because I was as far as stage fright and nerves go, I've come to the conclusion that that's always going to be there.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Oh well,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just have to, remember to do breathing exercises, deep breaths,
Mm-hmm.
and just put your mind somewhere else. It always helps. But yeah, the mechanics of it, because I made the mistake of, for the longest time I would, like spacing your set out, for example, like doing a song in the key of G here, then going to a song in the key of this or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
just like I would choose like, it's where I sing high, like I
Right.
would like do too many of those songs in a row,
Totally.
and then pretty soon I'd be like losing my voice, and then just like it was bad, So I learned how to like space things out, and also just management, how to manage your voice and just how to take care of it,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just finding a warm up that you like, just even if it's like, and also when to warm up too. That's the big thing. Like I would make the mistake of like really warming up, like my voice, warming up a lot before I would sing, and I'd warm up too much,
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, so then I discovered like, okay, it's good to warm up early in the day, if you have the chance to
Sure.
warm up early in the day, yeah, and then right before you get on, just run like maybe one scale, da 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 da, and then you're good,
Yeah.
but so just little things like that. That's what I've been learning the last like probably 5 years. Yeah, just like how to manage your voice.
It is a management thing, and it's a day to day thing. It's like if you're doing a lot of shows, or even if you're not, you may have had some bad weather or an allergy, or been up too late, or whatever. There's a lot of things that can affect this, and you sort of like have to. I When I'm on the road, the first thing I do in the morning, right after I take a pee, is take a little inventory of where my voice is that day.
Me too. I do
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Hmm.
what's going on, what notes, because it changes. Isn't that weird that it changes from day to day? um,
Yeah.
But I've noticed that if I do these little warm ups, like, so I do that little inventory, and if I'm in bad shape, I'll do little bitty warm ups incrementally throughout the day. And then by the time showtime is, I've brought those chords back to life. And it's really sort of amazing that you can do that. But I was curious to see if you take the time to warm up, because you sing like I mean, you sound like you've been singing for a long time. Like, I was going to say,
Thank you.
are you a trained singer? But apparently, did you get some training in college, or did you just?
Off and on, I'm like, I never really had a, set vocal teacher. I'm kind of one of those people where I ask questions from as many different people as I can.
Right.
Like, you
Bringing it
know,
in,
um,
right.
yes, exactly. Like Curtis, for example, like one time, we were on the phone actually, and we were talking about harmonicas and stuff, and then like I casually mentioned, like, hey, I'd like to maybe get a couple singing tips from you someday or whatever. And he was like, oh, well, that's cool. And he proceeded to give me a vocal lesson over the phone,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so that was valuable right there. But yeah, I gotten a lot of help from my mom as well, because my mom is a trained singer, and she's been singing since she was like 6, or something like that. And my dad knows a lot about singing as well, and so I was able to get a lot of help from them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and just like you said, through college, just paying attention to the choir directors and
Sure.
what they were saying, and not a lot of it didn't make sense at the time, but nowadays it's like, oh, okay, that's what they meant. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
You glean a lot of just being around singers, right? They sort of rubs off a little bit. Hopefully.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, singing, every tip you can get about singing is good for your harmonica playing, I think, right?
You
I mean,
seem
it
very
just
similar, right? I mean, I think that's why I love the harmonica so much. Is it just feels like a voice.
absolutely, yeah, and it's like your second voice. Like, how like BB King and Lucille, like BB
Yeah.
King called Lucille his second voice, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Totally. That's it.
that's what
But
it is. Yeah, and it's so cool. It's so cool.
it is so cool. Well, I want to know about your songwriting, and I've been checking out your last couple of records. Um, there's a few Shreves songwriting on your records, and I'm wondering, it's one has to be you.
Yes,
I'm guessing one is your father, who also plays bass in your band, right? Do you is and
correct.
who's the third Shreve that's writing for your project? Because you guys are writing
That's
great
actually
songs.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks. That's actually my wife. Yeah, Jillian. Yeah, so
Right, super cool.
yeah.
Wow.
Funny story about that song, and in fact, because like that was one of those songs. Like, how you were talking to Delbert a while back about like having unfinished songs and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Mhm.
That was kind of one of those, and I was having trouble with it, and I was just like, like, gosh, I need some more, just needs more something, and then um I remembered, I was like, oh well, then my wife has always like been a poet, she's always written great poetry, and she had mentioned a long time ago, like, yeah, it'd be cool to like write some words together sometime, and I was like, yeah, sure, and then we kind of forgot about it, and then so when I was trying to come up with this, or come up with the rest of the song, I was like, "Oh, hey, Jill, let's do that thing we were talking about, So,
Come help me
and
with
we,
this. Yeah.
yeah. And so we sat down, and like, it was cool because she had like the ideas she had were from like from an old poem that she had written,
Hmm.
and it was like the same exact theme of the song that I
Nice.
was working on. So it came together, So
Kismet. Beautiful. I love that. It's supposed to be. So, what's your approach to songwriting? Are you one of these guys that writes? Do you write every day? Do you write a little every day? Are you always writing down titles? Like somebody says something and you're across the room and you're like, oh, I'm gonna write that down. You write that down.
yeah.
I do. I do. I do a lot of that. I don't write every day at all. I mean, I go in spurts where I feel like the creative bone is calling, and then I'll write a bunch of stuff, and then I sometimes I'll sit on that stuff and maybe co-write a little bit. I'm sort of learned to write in Nashville, and that's a big thing here. I've spoken about that on the show before. Co-writing. Clearly, you co-write with your wife. Do you co-write with your pops?
Yeah, here and there. And usually that is like usually that comes about when we just hit record, and like I'll lay down like a drum beat first or
Yeah.
something, and then like we kind of like throw on some changes, because I'm kind of like you. I kind of go in spurts. I really wish I could write every day, but I just can't.
I mean, well,
um,
also you're playing like 30,000 instruments. So, I mean, when would you find the time to write to
yeah,
write every day, right?
yeah. Right. No, and I'm like you. Like I say, I'm like you. I just, I gotta, I try, I have to let it come to me,
Mm-hmm.
because um, when I've tried to force myself to write a song, that's when the song isn't very good,
Right.
So it's like I'm like you. I like if I hear something, then I'll try to write it down, or like I'll go to my phone and just like in the voice record,
Yeah.
just like you speak it, and that happens with like riffs too. Like when I'm practicing, I'll come up with like a cool, like a riff that I think is cool,
Right.
and I'll record that and save it because that's very valuable because you never know when you're going to need a little riff for a song or whatever, right?
Absolutely. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just kind of let it come to me, and yeah, sometimes the lyrics come, but sometimes the changes, like just the chord progression, comes to
Mhm.
me, especially like when I'm jamming with other people. um, I try to come up with like stuff that's like blues based because
Right.
nothing wrong with 12 bar blues format,
Mhm.
but it's cool. There's a lot of room to add things in there,
Yeah, for sure.
so
It's a
yeah,
bass,
yeah.
right? It's a bass. And I could hear like, okay, I'm going to list a couple of songs that I really liked for, I liked them all, but I wanted to have a few for you that I really dug. Cry, 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 that was really dope. That's a great tune. You wrote that
Thank
one,
you.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that me and Jill wrote. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, right on. Cool. Perfect. Take My Hand, instrumental. Are you playing
Oh
dobro on that,
yeah,
by the way?
I am. Yeah. Yes.
That's a gorgeous piece of music, man. Really,
Thank
really
you.
nice. And you played both chromatic and diatonic on that. It sounded like. Was that right?
Correct. Yeah, I
Yeah.
played a country tuned diatonic. Yeah, in G, and then yeah, I played a C chromatic.
Really cool. And then on that was so that's from your most recent record, came out in 2018, called Trouble, which
hmm
is available. People can buy that. They can go listen to that on Spotify, but they can also purchase that from you on various platforms. What are you on, iTunes and the
Yes. Yeah.
natural stuff, right?
iTunes. And Amazon, and also you can get them right from the Hank Shreve Band website as well.
Probably
Um,
even better. Even better. Just go straight to the horse's mouth, right?
yeah, I mean, it all comes back to us eventually, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but that's it's better. It's better. Yeah. Okay, so the record prior to that, Loosen Up, there was a track on there that I really liked called What You Gonna Do. And that I thought explored more of a poppy rock side of you, and I mean that in a good way, like maybe like
yeah.
Huey Lewis and the News ish sort of. It didn't sound like a Huey Lewis and the News song, but it sounded like you listened to Huey Lewis and the News and bands like that also, not just Little Walter and Paul DeLay and guys like that. Like I feel like
Mhm.
you're clearly a very versatile instrumentalist, but you're drawing from a lot of different places. It seems.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I am a big Huey fan, by the way. Yes,
Me
huge Huey
too.
fan. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, that one, that's cool because yeah, I was definitely going for that was another one that kind of came to me, just like I was playing, playing some harp, and I just had that ba dun 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 dun, and I just like came up with that groove,
hmm
and I just kind of started building something off of that. And it's kind of like I was kind of going for something with a slight country feel,
Okay. Yeah.
just a little bit. In
hmm
fact, I wanted to have pedal steel on that song originally. Yeah,
Don't
which
tell me you also play pedal steel.
no, no,
Okay.
no. I've tried. I have tried. I had one for about a month. I had one. My friend Gary let me borrow one, and he was gonna, cut me a really good deal on it and stuff. But
Yeah.
I had it, and I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's that's one of the hardest instruments in the world, I think.
It's
Yeah.
like it takes a different sort of brain to be able to play. All the guys that I've known that played great pedal steel were just sort of, they were really smart, really had like sort of an extra something going on. I don't know. Yeah. It's a weird
That's a very
instrument.
polite way of putting it. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, but anyway, I digress. So you produced these records, right?
Yeah, my dad and I did. Yes. Yeah.
Did your is that where you learned to produce records? I mean, how did you make some records that someone else produced? How did you learn to be a producer as well? Because that's a tough gig to be the artist and the producer at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a different role for sure. Yeah, I learned that from my parents for sure. And because when I was a kid, when I was about 4, my dad actually worked in a studio where they did music for commercials, they did
Okay.
jingles and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Yeah, so I was around that. I remember like I have very like early memories of being in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, skip ahead when I was in community college, that was actually my original major is I wanted to be, actually, excuse me, sorry. My original major was psychology. Um, but I kept falling asleep in class.
Yeah.
So there's that. Sorry, mom and dad, if you're watching this. But so then I did, yeah. Then I eventually switched over to audio technology
Yeah.
because, like, at the community college, they had a really cool program for that. You have they have a lab, and you get your own computer, and you have a keyboard, and it's
Yeah.
all the stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I learned a lot about it through there also, and the other person I learned a lot about producing from was a man named David Z, who I'm sure you're probably familiar with.
I know that name, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure
he
why.
yeah he produced Johnny Lang's
Okay. All right.
the first album, and then a bunch of other stuff too. He was Prince did a lot of stuff for Prince,
Oh wow. Okay.
and
All right.
yeah.
Check it out.
So the band I was in prior to Hank Shreve band was called the Ty Curtis Band, and it was an excellent band. Ty's a great guitar player, singer, songwriter from
Mm,
Salem, Oregon.
okay.
And so I was in his band, and we recorded an album produced by David Z, and we cut the album in 3 days, and it
Wow.
was like, oh boy, it was like, we were all young back then. I mean, well, younger.
Younger.
Like I think I was probably like maybe 20, 21. I don't really remember, but so it worked. But yeah, I learned a lot from watching him and just how he engineered, because he like not only produced it, he engineered it too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he came right in, he just like set up all the microphones and set
Mm-hmm.
up all the Pro Tools and stuff. And so yeah, that was big
Quite an
learning
education.
experience.
Just knowing
Hmm.
where to
Yeah.
place the microphones is like going to a master class, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like there's you know n- there's so many different ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Well, your record sounds great. I mean,
Thank you.
really good. I was like, man, you're killing me, man. You're making me like you're making me sick here. You're playing all the instruments, you're writing the songs, you're producing the record. Hank, that's really impressive, man. You're a guy to be reckoned with for sure.
Oh, well, thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
I appreciated that. But I'm becoming a big fan of you, man. I really like High South.
Right on, cool.
I've kind of feel like what Joe Flisco was saying. It's just like I like, how have I not heard of you before? I'm just embarrassed. And so I've been really enjoying listening to your stuff lately. So really killer, really
Thank you.
killer.
I appreciate that very much. And it's it's myself and two other guys. For those people who don't know, it's a harmony based group. So I'm not the only dude in it. We all write together, and we've had some great producers. Stan Lynch from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers co-produced with a guy named Josh Leo, who's produced a ton of wonderful, wonderful things. Um,
Nice.
so we've had some definite guidance and learned and been able to hopefully learn some stuff from those guys as well. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I've sort of just run in a different circle. Like Curtis said something to me that sort of made a lot of sense. He's always thought of himself as a singer first, uh, and his harmonica was sort of his little silver bullet, sort
Right.
of thing.
Yeah.
And I've always sort of felt the same way. You, on the other hand, you sing like that's your first. I mean, I didn't expect you to be such a great singer. You've got such a great range and such emotion and soul in that voice. Yeah, you get the growl thing, and it's just it's fantastic. Yeah, you got
Thank
it all
you.
going on,
Thank
bro.
you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Well, we got to get together and sing in a room someday.
I'd love that. That would be so cool.
When COVID is over. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, man, where can people go and find your stuff? It's at Hank. Well, you tell what the web address is.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So Hank Shreve Band.
Mm-hmm.
That's Shreve, like
Mm-hmm.
Shreveport
Right.
out there. Yeah. So there's a million different spellings for it, but that's the one.
And you're teaching
uh,
lessons as well, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah, through Zoom and Skype, whatever you have, if you're interested in that, you can always email me at hankshreve@gmail.com.
Yeah.
That's usually the best way to get a hold of me. I've been kind of taking a break from Facebook here and there. I'm still on there here and there, but
Huh?
I've been kind of laying low a little bit on there. But um, mm, I might be at the friend limit too, but uh, I'm not sure. I have a hard time keeping track of it, but if you go there and just follow that, so that's facebook.com/hank.shreve, so Hank period Shreve.
Uh-huh.
Um, when I do get on there, I post my gigs and stuff, and I also do some live feeds from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you check that out. Also, I've been working on my YouTube too. I've been trying to build that up because
Wonderful.
that's gone neglected for way too long, and so I've been trying to overcome my fears and post some more stuff on there.
Getting on video is a weird thing, right? At first, it's like, wow, what's going on here, you know? But YouTube is
Yeah.
such a powerful thing, and there's so many people out there that want to hear what you have to say. Uh, so I can imagine. I can't wait. I'll subscribe. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. That helps.
Sure, man. Only if you subscribe to mine, though. Too. We got to,
I
reciprocate.
think I have already,
Oh, you
actually.
did. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
You know. Right on. Well, man, we've got to get together and do this again sometime because honestly, there's a lot more things that we could talk about. And so I try to hold a little bit back so I can circle back around and meet up with you again somewhere down the line, so we can continue the conversation. So I hope you'll be open to that in the future. And I'm just so grateful and honored that you were here today. It's really wonderful to meet you. I'm a fan. Your harp chops just freak me out, and so in a good way. Yeah, it's killer. And you play it upside down. It's it's like a yeah, it's pretty incredible. All right, man. Well, listen, thank you for being here. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, Jamie. It was such an honor. Take care. Thank you.
My pleasure, brother. Take care. Be good.